So let's start from here. Who is controlling your brain? In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, have you ever stopped to wonder who is really in control? Is it you? Or is it your brain? As we navigate through our daily new routines, making countless decisions and reacting to the world around us, it is easy to assume that we are the one calling the shots. But what if I told you that the reality might be far more complex? From making decisions to experiencing emotion, our brain are at the control of everything we do. But how much control do we actually have over our own minds? The human brain, a marvel of biological engineering, contains roughly 86 billion neurons forming trillions of connections. This complex network is responsible for every thought, every action we do, and every feeling we experience. But does that mean our conscious self is merely along for these rides? So join us as we embark on the journey to explore the mystery of the human brain. We will delve into the science of decision making, uncover the power of subconsciousness, and navigate the fascinating world of neuronal networks. Along the way, we will delve into the various areas rooted in neuroscience, psychology, and cognitive science, all pushing the boundary of our understanding of the brain. We'll examine cutting-edge research that's shedding new light on how our brain functions and what it means for our sense of control. From the latest in the neuroimaging technology to groundbreaking experiment in cognitive psychology, we will explore the frontier of brain science. As we unravel the complexity of human mind, we will challenge our assumption about free will, consciousness, and the nature of self. We'll ask profound questions about who we are and how we make decisions. And perhaps most importantly, we will discover practical ways to harness the power of our brain to lead our intentional, fulfilled lives. So fasten your seatbelt and prepare for a mind-bending exploration of the most complex object in the known universe, the human brain. So welcome to the exploration of our own internal universe. So we'll start with the anatomy of brain, the anatomy of control segment, the brain structure. To understand who is in control, we first need to understand the structure of the brain. The human brain is a complex organ consisting of billions of neurons and trillions of the connections. But how does this complex network function? The brain is divided into several major regions, each with its own specialized function. So let's take a closer look at some of these key areas. The cerebral cortex, the outermost layer of the brain, is responsible for higher order thinking, sensory processing, and motor control. It's divided into 4 lobes: the frontal lobes, which involve in the reasoning and the planning, the parietal lobe, which process sensory information, and the temporal lobe, that is crucial for memory and language, and the occipital lobe, which handle visual processing. Of particular interest is the prefrontal cortex, located at the front of the frontal lobe. This region is often called CEO of the brain due to its crucial role in executing functions like decision making, impulse control, and planning. The prefrontal cortex is what sets us as a human apart from the other animals. It is the seat of our most advanced cognitive abilities, allowing us to plan for the future, make complex decisions, and regulate our behavior. To regulate our behavior means to control or manage how we act or respond in different situations. It involves overseeing and adjusting our action, emotion, and reaction to meet social norm, personal goal, or situation requirement. This can include managing impulses, making decisions and maintaining appropriate response in a various contexts. However, it's important to note that the prefrontal cortex does not work in isolation. It constantly interacting with other brain regions to shape our thought and action. So deeper within the brain lies in the limbic system, a group of structure including amygdala, hippocampus and hypothalamus. This system play a crucial role in the emotion, motivation and memory. So briefly I will just give a clue about all these three structure. First, amygdala, this almond-shaped cluster of nucleus is located in temporal lobe of the brain. It plays a crucial role in processing emotions, particularly fear and pleasure. It helps in forming emotional memory and it involved in the emotional response to a stimuli. And the second is hippocampus, which is located in the medial temporal lobe. The hippocampus is essential for forming new memories and connecting them to emotion and spatial navigation. It plays a significant role in consolidating short-term memory into the long-term memory and is also involved in learning and memory retrieval. Third is hypothalamus, so positioned below the thalamus and above the brainstem. The hypothalamus is involved in regulating various physiological processes including hunger, thirst, body temperature and sleep. It controls the pituitary gland, which is turn regulate various hormonal function and help maintain homeostasis in our body. So coming back to the limbic system, which is often referred to as our emotional brain. The amygdala, for instance, is key in processing fear and other strong emotion. The hippocampus, which is crucial for forming the new memory and spatial navigation, and these structures work together to influence our behavior in powerful ways, often operating below the level of conscious awareness. So these regions does not operate in isolation. They are interconnected by the complex neuronal pathway, allowing for rapid communication and coordinating across the brain. What fascinating is how these different regions interact. For example, when we make a decision, the prefrontal cortex might be weighing options rationally, but is also receiving input from the other limbic system about our emotion state. This interplay between region and emotion is part of what makes human cognition so complex and sometimes unpredictable. So understanding the structure of brain is just the first step in unraveling the mystery of control. But as we have seen, the brain complexity rises as many questions as its answer. How do these different regions work together to produce our thought and action? And what happens when there is a conflict between different parts of the brain? The prefrontal cortex, often referred to as the executive of the brain, play a pivotal role in decision making. It's where we process complex thought, plan for the future and exercise self-control. But how exactly does this region influence our choices and action? When we are faced with a decision, the prefrontal cortex evaluates the option, consider the consequences and help us make a rational choices. It's like a brain command center integrating information from various sources to guide our behavior. What is remarkable about the prefrontal cortex is its ability to consider future outcome. Unlike more basic part of the brain that focus on immediate reward, the prefrontal cortex allow us to delay gratification and make choices that benefit us in the long term. This ability to think ahead and control our impulses is crucial for navigation the complexity of the modern life. But it is not always a smooth process. Sometimes our impulses and desire, driven by other part of the brain, can override the rational decision making process. This conflict between the intermediate gratification and long-term goal is a common struggle many of us face. What can we say here is that classic example of cognitive conflict. The prefrontal cortex might be saying, don't eat the cake. Remember your diet goal. But the other part of the brain, like the limbic system, are screaming, eat it. It will taste good. The outcome depends on which signal is stronger at that moment. So recent study using functional magnetic resonance imaging, which is fMRI, have given us insight into how the brain manages their conflicts. When people successfully resist their desire, we often see increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, and this suggests that making stronger this region could potentially improve self-control. However, it is not just about raw willpower. The prefrontal cortex also helps us develop approaches to avoid desire in the first place. But the role of prefrontal cortex extends beyond just resisting impulses. It also crucial for complex problem solving and creativity. The prefrontal cortex allows us to think conceptually, to combine ideas in the novel ways, and to imagine future scenarios. This is what enables human innovation and long-term planning. When you are brainstorming solutions to problems or imagining your life 5 years from now, you are relying heavily on prefrontal cortex. These remarkable capabilities of the prefrontal cortex have allowed humans to achieve incredible feats, from building civilization to exploring the cosmos. Studying a discovery, the vast and complex universe beyond the Earth. But this powerful brain region is not infallible. The prefrontal cortex is also one of the most vulnerable regions of the brain. It's sensitive to stress, lack of sleep, and the effect of aging. When the prefrontal cortex is impaired, we might see difficulty with the decision making, impulse control, and emotional regulation. So understanding the role of the prefrontal cortex not only helps us appreciate the complexity of our decision making process, but also points to ways we might enhance our cognitive control. So the practice like a mindfulness meditation, regular exercise, and ensuring adequate sleep have all been shown to support prefrontal cortex function. By taking care of the crucial brain region, we can potentially improve our ability to make wise decisions and control our impulses. As we have seen, the prefrontal cortex play a vital role in shaping our behavior and decision, but it is just one of the complex network that is our brain. To truly understand who is in control, we need to delve deeper into the mystery domain of the subconscious mind. So now let's talk about subconscious mind, the power of subconscious. While the conscious mind is responsible for our immediate thoughts and action, the subconscious mind operates behind the scene, influencing our behavior in restrained yet powerful ways. But what exactly in the subconscious mind, and how does it shape our lives? So subconscious mind is like an iceberg. The conscious mind is the tip of iceberg. We can see above the water, but the vast majority lies hidden beneath the surface. It stores our memories, beliefs, and experiences, shaping our perception and reaction often without us even realizing it. But how does the subconscious mind influence our daily lives? Let's look into some examples. So many of us reflex and instinct are controlled by the subconscious mind. When you catch a falling object without thinking, that is your subconscious mind processing information and initiating a response faster than your conscious mind could. The subconscious also play a big role in our intuition and gut feeling. You might feel uneasy about a situation without knowing why. This could be your subconscious picking up one experience signal that your conscious mind has not processed yet. This subconscious influence can have profound impact on our decision and action, but it goes even deeper than that. Many of our preference and bias operate at a subconscious level. The choice we make, from the product we buy to the people we trust, are often influenced by subconscious association and memories. So experiments have shown that even stimuli we are not consciously aware of can influence our behavior. This is the basis of controversial concept of subliminal messaging. Subliminal messaging refers to the use of subtle or hidden signals that are designed to influence people's thoughts, attitude, or behavior without their conscious awareness. These messages are often presented below the threshold of conscious perception, meaning they are not easily noticeable or consciously processed. For example, subliminal message might be embedded in visual or audio content, such as brief flash of text or sound that are too quick to be consciously detected. The idea is that these messages can affect the subconscious mind and potentially impact people's choices or attitude. However, the effectiveness and the ethical implications of subliminal messaging are widely debated. Let's begin understand this a bit more details. Subliminal messaging refers to practice of sending message below the threshold of consciousness awareness, aiming to influence people's thoughts, attitude, or behavior without them realizing it. So the controversy surrounding subliminal message stems from the various factors. So first is effectiveness. There is an ongoing debate about whether subliminal messages are effective in altering behavior or attitude. Some studies suggest that subliminal cues can influence decision or preferences in the specific context, while others argue that their impact is minimum or negligible. Second is ethics. The ethical implications of subliminal messaging are significant. Critics argue that using subliminal message can manipulate people without their informed consent, raising concern about the autonomy and exploitation. The idea of influencing individuals without their awareness challenges ethical standards in the marketing and advertising agency. Third, legal regulation. Due to the concern about the potential for abuse, some countries have established regulation or ban for subliminal messaging in advertising. For example, the Federal Communication Commission (FCC) in the United States has prohibited subliminal message in broadcast media. Fourth, scientific validity. The scientific community is divided on the validity of subliminal messaging. While some researchers have found evidence that subliminal stimuli can influence the perception or preferences, others argue that these effects are limited and not practically significant. The fifth is pop culture influence. Subliminal messaging have been popularized in the media and conspiracy theories, often exaggerated or misrepresented. This has contributed to the controversy, with some claim suggesting that subliminal messaging are used for the mind control or covert manipulation, despite lacking substantial evidence. So overall, while subliminal messaging remains a fascinating and controversial topic, its real-world implications of effectiveness are still subjected of ongoing research and debate. So now coming back to the main topic. While the effectiveness of subliminal advertising has been largely debunked, these experiments do demonstrate the power of subconscious processing. Our brains are constantly taking in and processing information, much of which never reach or conscious awareness. The subconscious can also be source of irrational fear and anxiety. Phobias are a good example of the subconscious mind influence. A person might have a strong fear response to something harmless, like a button or balloon, due to the subconscious association with a traumatic event they might not even consciously remember. So, understanding the power of subconscious has been crucial in the development of various therapeutic approaches. In psychotherapy, we often work to uncover subconscious belief or memory that might be influence a person's behavior or emotional state. By bringing these into conscious awareness, we can start to address and potentially change them. But the subconscious is not just a source of problem, it can also be a wellspring of the creativity and insight. Many great ideas and solutions come to us when we are not consciously thinking about the problem. This is often subconscious mind at work, making connection and processing information in the background. So this phenomenon, sometimes called the incubation, is why we often have aha moment after taking a break from a problem. So subconscious mind continue to work on the problem even when we are not actively thinking about them. This is why sleep is the most important for the learning and problem solving. It gives our subconscious mind time to process and consolidate the information. So as we have seen, the subconscious mind wield enormous influence over our thoughts, feeling and action, but can we ever truly control it? So now let's talk about some techniques to control the subconscious. While the subconscious mind operates largely outside of our awareness, there are techniques we can use to control its power. So mindfulness, meditation and cognitive behavioral therapy are just a few methods that can help us gain better control over our subconscious influences. So mindfulness means it refers to the practice of maintaining a heightened awareness of the present moment, often with the focus on acceptance and non-judgment. It involves paying attention to your thought, feeling, bodily sensation and surrounding environment in a deliberate and non-reactive way. This is about the bringing our attention to the present moment without judgment. By practicing mindfulness, we can become more aware of our thought and feeling, allowing us respond more thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. So through these practices, we can learn to navigate the complex interplay between our conscious and subconscious minds. Mindfulness meditation has been shown to reduce stress, improve focus, and enhance emotional regulation. By regularly practicing mindfulness, we can train our brain to be more present and less reactive to subconscious triggers. So another powerful technique is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is also known as CBT, which helps individuals identify and change the negative thought pattern and behavior. So CBT is based on idea that our thought, feelings and the behavior are interconnected. By the identifying and challenging irrational or unhelpful thought, we can change the way we feel and behave. This process often bringing subconscious belief into conscious awareness and examining their validity. Through CBT, individual can learn to reframe negative thought and develop the healthier coping strategy. CBT has been shown to be effective for a wide range of the issues, from anxiety and depression to phobia and addiction. By changing the way we think, we can change the way we feel and act. So journaling is another technique that can help us access and understand our subconscious mind. By writing down our thought and feeling, we can gain insight into our inner world and uncover patterns that might be influencing our behavior. So journaling can be the powerful tools to self-discovery. It allows us externalize our thought and emotion, making it easier to examine them. objectively. And this process can be help uncover subconscious belief and pattern that we might not be aware of in our day-to-day lives. Creative activity can also be gateway to the subconscious mind. Art, music, and dance can tap into the emotion and memory that might be difficult to access through the verbal communication alone. In the art therapy, we use the creative expression as a means of exploring the subconscious mind. The act of creating art can bypass our conscious defense and allow deeper feeling and thought to surface. This can be particularly helping for individuals who struggle to express themselves verbally. So, guided imaginary is another technique that can help us access and influence our subconscious mind. Guided imagery involves use mental visualization to create positive changes in our thoughts, feeling, and behavior. By repeatedly visualize desired outcome, we can potentially reprogram our subconscious mind to support our goal. Next is self-hypnosis. So self-hypnosis is a related technique that aims to induce a state of focused attention and heightened suggestibility. Contrary to power belief, hypnosis isn't about the losing control, it's about achieving a state of deep relaxation and focus where we can more easily access and influence our subconscious mind. Through hypnosis, we can work on the changing unhelpful belief and behavior at a deep level. So the positive affirmation are another tools that can help reshape our subconscious belief. Affirmations are positive statements that we repeat to ourselves on the regular basis. The idea is that consistently exposing our mind to this positive message, we can gradually shift our subconscious belief and attitude. While these techniques can be powerful tools for harnessing the subconscious mind, it is important to note that the change often takes time and consistent effort. So rewiring our subconscious pattern is not an overnight process. It requires patience, persistence, and often the guidance of the trained professional. But the potential belief, greater self-awareness, improved emotional regulation, and more control over the thought and behavior. And that can be truly life-changing. So as we have explored, the subconscious mind play a crucial role in the shaping our thoughts, feeling, and behavior. By understanding its influence and learning technique to work with it, it can potentially gain greater control over our lives and move closer to becoming the designer of our own experiences. Now let's talk about the neuronal network and decision making. So the science of neuronal network. At the heart of our brain functioning are neuronal network, interconnected neurons that process information and drive our thought and action. But what exactly are these networks and how do they work? The neuronal networks are like the brain communication highway. They consist of billions of neurons connected by synapses, allowing different regions of the brain to work together and enabling complex cognitive function. When we learn or experience something new, our neuronal network change. This process known as neuroplasticity, allowing our brain to adapt and evolve through our lives. So here I will explain about what is the neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity, also known as the brain plasticity or neuronal plasticity, which refer to the brain ability to reorganize itself by forming new neuronal connections throughout the life. And this concept involves two main aspects. So first is functional plasticity, the brain's ability to move functional from the damaged area to undamaged area. For example, if a part of brain injured, the other part of the brain may adapt and take over the functions that were previously performed by the damaged area. Second is structural plasticity. So the brain ability to physical change in structure in response to learning, experience, or environmental changes. This means that the brain can grow new neurons and reorganize existing connections. So neuroplasticity is crucial for the learning and memory as it enables the brain to adapt to new experience and information. It also important to recover from brain injury and for developing new skill or behavior. So for example, practicing a new skill like playing a music or musical instrument can lead to structural change in the brain, enhancing area related to motor control and auditory processing. But how do these networks actually process information? So neuronal networks operate on a principle of pattern recognition. They receive input, process it through the layer of interconnected neuron and produce an output. This is how we recognize face, understand language, and make decisions. This basic principle has inspired the field of artificial intelligence, which is called AI, where computer scientists create artificial neural networks to solve complex problems. So artificial neuronal networks are modeled after the brain structure. While they are not as complex as the biological neuronal network, they can perform impressive feats of pattern recognition and decision making. This has application in everything from the image recognition to natural language processing. But while artificial neuronal networks are impressive, they are still far cry from the complexity of the human brain. Our brain contains around 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others. This creates a network of staging complexity capable of processing vast amount of information in parallel. These networks are constantly adapting and changing, influenced by our experience and environment. Every time we learn something new or have a new novel experiences, our neuronal network reconfigure themselves. This is why practice and repetitions are so important for the learning. They strengthen the connection in the relevant neuron networks. But neuronal network does not just process information, they also store it. Our memory are essentially pattern of activation in our neuronal network. When we recall a memory, we are reactivating this pattern. This is why memory can change over time. Each recall slightly alters the network. Understanding neuronal network is crucial to unraveling the mystery of how we think, learn, and make decisions. But how exactly do these networks influence our decision-making process? So let's now talk about the neuronal network influence decision. When we make decisions, our neuronal networks are hard at work, processing information and weighing options. But how does they determine the outcome? So decision making involves the activation of multiple neuron networks across the different brain regions. These networks are influenced by the variety of factors including past experience, emotion, and even bias we might not be aware of. For example, when we faced with a familiar situation, our brain quickly activates the relevant neuronal network based on our past experiences. This allows us to make rapid decisions without having to consciously consider every option. This process, often called intuition or gut feeling, that can be remarkably accurate in certain situations, but it can also lead us astray. Our institutions are shaped by our experience and the bias. In unfamiliar or complex situations, relying solely on the situation can sometimes lead to suboptimal decisions. So how can we improve our decision making? So one approach is to become more aware of our decision making process by understanding the factors that influence our choices. We can make more deliberate, rational decisions when necessary. But it's not just about being more rational. Emotions proceed by our limbic system, play a crucial role in decision making, People with the damage to emotion processing area of the brain often struggle to make decisions. even simple one. This suggests that the emotion provide vital input to the decision-making process. The key is to strike a balance between emotional input and rational analysis. Our neuronal network need to integrate information from both our thinking brain and our feeling brain to make an optimal decision. So let's understand about the thinking and feeling brain. The concept of integrating our thinking brain and our feeling brain to make optimal decision refer to leveraging both cognitive and emotional processes in decision making. So understanding these influence can help us make more informed and rational decision, but it's important to remember that our neuronal network are constantly changing and adapting. Every decision we make improves certain neuronal pathway. This is why habit can be hard to break. We are reinforcing a specific neuronal network each time we repeat a behavior. But this plasticity also means we can train our brain to make better decisions. Through practices like mindfulness meditation, we can improve the neuronal network involved in self-awareness and emotional regulation. This can lead to more thoughtful, less impulsive decision making. So as we seen, our neuronal network play a crucial role in shaping our decision. By understanding how these networks function, we can gain insight into our own thought process and potentially improve our decision making ability. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate the influence of our neuronal network, but to work with them more effectively. By becoming more aware of our internal process, we can make choices that better align with our goal and values. As we continue to unravel the mystery of the brain, we are gaining new tools to understand and influence our own decision making process. But with this knowledge comes responsibility. How will we use our understanding of neuronal network to shape our life and our society? So now I will talk about here the emotion and control, that is the limbic system. So we explore how our brain makes decision, but what about our emotion? How do they fit into the picture of control? To understand this, we need to delve into a crucial part of our brain, the limbic system. So the limbic system is a group of interconnected structures deep within the brain, including amygdala, hippocampus, and hypothalamus. These structures play a vital role in our emotional experience and memory, as I mentioned before as well. So the limbic system is often called our emotional brain. It is responsible for our processing and regulating our emotion, as well as forming or storing memory associated with those emotions. The amygdala, for example, is crucial for processing fear and other strong emotions. When we encounter a potential threatening situation, the amygdala activates our fight or flight response before we are even consciously aware of the threat. This rapid emotional processing can be life-saving in dangerous situations. But in our modern world, it can sometimes lead to overreaction or anxiety. The hippocampus, another key structure in limbic system, is vital for forming new memories and spatial navigation. It works closely with the amygdala to create emotional memory, but the limbic system does not work in isolation. It constantly interacting with other brain regions, particularly to prefrontal cortex. So there is a constant dialogue between our emotional brain and our rational brain. The prefrontal cortex can modulate limbic system actively, allowing us to regulate the emotion and make more considered decisions. This interplay between emotion and reason is at the heart of many of our internal struggle, but it also provides an opportunity for greater self-control. By improving the connection between the prefrontal cortex and limbic system, we can potentially improve our emotional regulation and decision making ability. So understanding the limbic system and the interaction with other brain region is crucial for unraveling complex relation between our emotion and our sense of control. But how can we use this knowledge to better manage of our emotional lives? So now let's talk about emotional regulation. So emotional regulation, the ability to manage and respond to the emotional experience, is a key aspect of mental health and well-being. But how exactly do we regulate our emotion? And can we improve this ability? So emotional regulation involves several processes, including recognition emotion, understanding their causes, and modifying emotional responses when necessary. It is not about the surprising emotion, but about the responding to them in the helpful ways. So various techniques can help us improve our emotional regulation skills. Let's start with the mindfulness meditation. For example, this can help us become more aware of our emotion without immediately reacting to them. This creates a space between the emotional stimulus and our response, allowing for more thoughtful reaction. So cognitive rephrasal is another powerful technique for emotional regulation. So cognitive rephrasal involves changing how we think about the situation to change how we feel about it. For example, viewing a stressful situation as a challenge rather than a threat that can significantly alter our emotional response. But emotional regulation isn't just about managing negative emotion. It also involves cultivating positive emotion. So practices like gratitude, journaling, savoring positive experience, and engaging in activities that bring joy can help strengthen our capacity for positive emotion. And this can make us more resilient in the face of stress and adversity. So improving our emotional regulation skill can have profound effect on our decision making and overall well-being. When we are better at regulating our emotion, we are less likely to make impulsive decisions driven by temporary emotional state. We can think more clearly and act more in line with our long-term goals and values. But emotional regulation is not just an individual concern. It has important implications for our relationship and society as a whole. Like emotional intelligence, which include emotional regulation that is crucial for effective communication, empathy, and conflict resolution. By improving our collective emotional regulation skill, we could potentially create more harmonious relationship and society. So as we seen, our emotion play a crucial role in our decision making process and our overall sense of control. By understanding and improving our emotional regulation skill, we can potentially gain greater mastery over our thought, feeling, and action. It is important to remember that emotional regulation is a skill that can be developed over time. Like any skill, it requires practice and patience, but the benefit, improved relationship, better decision making, and greater overall well-being are well worth the effort. But what about this time when our emotions seem to be completely overwhelm us? How do we maintain a sense of control in the face of intense emotional experiences? So now let's move on into the role of consciousness, which is defining consciousness. At the heart of our sense of control lies consciousness, our subjective awareness of ourself and our environment. But what exactly is consciousness and how does it relate to our brain activity? So the consciousness is one of the most profound mystery in the science and philosophy. It is our subjective experience of the world, the feeling of what it's like to be you. But explaining how this arises from the physical process in our brain is what known as the hard problem of the consciousness. So there are many theories about how consciousness emerges from the brain activity, but no scientific consensus yet. Some theories like the global workspace theory suggest that consciousness arises when information is broadcast widely across the brain. Others like the integrated information theory propose that consciousness is a fundamental property of any system that integrate information in certain complex ways. From a neuroscientific perspective, we can identify brain region and pattern of actively associated with conscious experience. From a neuroscientific perspective, we can identify brain region and pattern of actively associated conscious experience. For example, the thalamus and cortex seem to play a crucial role in consciousness. So consciousness allows us to reflect on our thought, emotion and action. It gives us the ability to make deliberate choices and override automatic responses. In this sense, consciousness is intimately tied to our experience of free will and control. However, it is important to note that much of our brain activity occurs outside of conscious awareness. Our conscious experience is more like the tip of iceberg. There is a lot going on beneath the surface. This raises intriguing question about the nature of control and decision making. How much of our behavior is truly under conscious control and how much is driven by unconscious process. So let's talk about the altered state of consciousness. To further understanding consciousness and its role in control, researchers have studied various altered states of consciousness, from sleep and dreaming to medication and psychedelic experiences. Sleep is fascinating altered state of consciousness. During deep sleep, our conscious awareness seems to be disappear entirely. Yet our brain remains highly active, consolidating memory and performing various maintenance functions. Dreaming. So particularly during the REM sleep is another intriguing state. In dream we often have vivid experience and emotion, but little control over the dream narrative. This had led some researchers to use lucid dreaming, where the dreamer becomes aware they are dreaming, as a tools to study consciousness and control. Medication is another practice that can profoundly alter our state of consciousness. Long-term meditators report experience of expanded awareness and heightened control over the mental states. Neuroscientific studies have shown that meditation can indeed change the pattern of brain activity and even alter the structure over time. Some researchers have also studied the effect of psychedelic substance on the consciousness and the brain. Psychedelics like psilocybin and LSD can induce profound alteration in subconsciousness. Interestingly, brain imaging studies show that these substances can lead to increased connectivity between brain regions that does not typically communicate directly. And this led to new theories about the nature of consciousness and potential therapeutic applications. This altered state of consciousness provide valuable insight into nature of awareness and control. But they also raise challenging question. If our sense of control can be so profoundly altered by changing in brain chemistry or mental state, what does this mean for our understanding of free will and personal responsibility? These are not just abstract philosophical questions. They have a real implication for how we structure our society and legal system. As we continue to unravel the mystery of consciousness, we may need to re-evaluate our concept of control and decision making. But this knowledge also opens up new possibility for enhancing our cognitive ability and well-being. So let's talk about the practical applications. Enhancing self-control. So understanding the brain mechanism behind control and decision making is fascinating from the scientific perspective. But How can we apply this knowledge to improve our life? So one of the most practical application of this research is developing plan for enhanced self-control. So self-control is crucial for achieving long-term goal and maintaining overall well-being. We now know that the self-control is not just about willpower. It involves a complex interplay between different brain regions, particularly the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system, for improved self-control. Some of these strategies involve directly training the brain network and involve the self-control. So techniques like the cognitive training exercise and neuronal feedback show promise in strengthening the neuronal pathway involved in self-control. It's like going to gym but for your brain. Other approaches focus on changing our environment to support better self-control. We can use our understanding of decision-making process to design environment that make it easier to make good choices. This could be as simple as keeping healthy snacks visible and junk food out of sight, or as complex as urban planning and encourages physical activity. So technology is also playing an increased role in the supporting self-control and decision making. So apps and devices that track our behavior and provide timely reminder or intervention can act as external support for our internal control mechanism. However, it's important to use these tools mindfully, as over-reliance on the external aid could potentially weaken our intrinsic self-control ability. So ultimately, enhancing self-control is about aligning our action with our long-term goal and values. By understanding the brain mechanism involving control, we can develop more effective strategy for overcoming impulses and making decisions that serve our best interests in the long run. This can lead to improvement in the various areas of life, from the health and finance to relationship and career success. So now let's talk about a bit the future of brain research. As our understanding of the brain continue to grow, new technology and discovery are opening up exciting possibility for future neuroscience and its application. We are on the limit of some truly revolutionary development in brain research. Advanced neuroimaging technique coupled with artificial intelligence are allowing us to decode brain activity with unprecedented precision. This could lead to a breakthrough treatment for the neurological disorder, more effective brain-computer interface, and even the ability to read mental state or memories. Though this of course raises significant ethical concern. Indeed, as our ability to understand and influence the brain grows, so too do the ethical challenges. So the potential application of advanced neurotechnology are both exciting and concerning. While we could see the remarkable advances in the treating mental illness or enhancing cognitive ability, we also need to grapple with the question of mental privacy, cognitive liberty, and the potential for misuse of this technology. Another frontier in the brain research is the development of artificial general intelligence, which is called AGI. So AI system that can match or exist human cognitive ability across the wide range of tasks. So as we continue to unravel the mysteries of the human brain, we are also making a stride in the creating artificial intelligence that more closely mimic human cognition. This could lead to an AI system that not only process information more like human but potentially even experience consciousness. We never know. The development of AGI could have profound implications for our understanding of consciousness, decision making, and what it means to be in control. It may even challenge our notion of what we mean to be human. As we stand on the brink of these remarkable advances, we are faced with both tremendous opportunities and significant challenges. The future of brain research hold the promise of unlocking the full potential of the human mind. But as we gain greater understanding and control over our brain, we must also grapple with the philosophical and ethical implication of this knowledge. So as we seen throughout this exploration, the question of who is in control is far more complex than it might initially appear. Our decision and action arises from the complex interplay of the consciousness and unconsciousness process shaped by our biology, experiences and environment. So now I would like to conclude here of our exploration journey. So throughout this journey we have delved into the complexity of human brain, exploring how neuronal network work, emotions, subconsciousness and various cognitive processes shape our sense of control and decision making. We have seen that the control is not a simple, unified process, but rather emerges from the complex dance of the various brain systems. Our prefrontal cortex may plan and reason, but constantly in the dialogue with the other emotional center, our memory and the vast network of conscious process. We have learned that while we may not be total control over our thought and action, we do have some ability to influence them. Through practices like the mindfulness and cognitive reframing and the environmental design, we can shape our behavior and decision to better align with our goal and values. As we look into the future, advances in the neuroscience and technology promising to deepen our understanding of the brain and potentially enhance our cognitive ability. But with this knowledge and power comes great responsibility. The question of who is in control extends beyond the individual mind to society as a whole. As we gain the ability to influence brain function more directly, we must carefully consider the ethical implications and strive to use this knowledge for betterment of humanity. In the end, perhaps the most empowering realization is that while we may not have total control, we do have the capacity to understand our minds better and shape our cognitive process. By doing so, we can make more conscious choices, regulate the emotion more effectively, and ultimately lead to more fulfilled life. As we continue to unravel the mystery of the brain, we move closer to answer the age-old question of who we are. And in understand our brain better, we gain not just a knowledge but the power of shape our own stories. So thank you for joining us on the exploration of who is controlling your brain. As we have seen, the answer is complex and multi-layered, but in seeking to understand it, we open up new possibility for the growth, self-improvement, and realizing our full potential as a human being.